Good morning all. On the latest episode of the Turn It Round the Corner podcast, I'm with Jason Maher. Jason Maher's a well-known non-league manager, not currently working at the moment. Probably we'll get to that, open to work, looking at new opportunities. But yeah, a nice setting, weekend walk along the beach in Southend. So Jace, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Christian.
Yeah, good. Thanks for giving up your time. Lovely morning as it is. So, as you know, on this podcast, we speak to people all levels of the game, all angles of the game. Obviously, you're known for being a non-league manager, but currently you're not working. So, what are you doing with yourself?
Yeah, obviously, I'm not working at the moment, but I'm still out watching games all the time.
Yeah.
Over the summer, I started a part-time job with Norwich.
Yeah.
Which has been keeping me quite busy. To be fair, I've been out doing watching quite a lot of games for them.
So what are you doing there, Jace?
So I'm doing scouting in the sort of age group 13 to 16. So that's the age group that I've been allocated. So getting out and watching a lot of youth team games, academy games, reporting back on players. So yeah, it's been quite nice. It's something I enjoy doing. I like watching games.
Yeah.
Even when I've been working previously, obviously managing. Yeah. Watching games and getting out and watching games is a massive part of that. So yeah, it's been something different.
So the Norwich angle, Jace, is that you're looking at players that maybe falling out higher, or are you looking for gems lower down like EGA or maybe category 3 academies? Where are you looking for these players?
Yeah, so there's quite a few different aspects of it, really, Christian. Sometimes there is ones who may be dropping out of Cat 1 clubs, and maybe the top Cat 1 clubs that people are looking out for. You're also looking in sort of EGA games and JPL games and stuff like that. Looking at lower academy games where we might see players that we identify. A massive push at the moment at Norwich. Really looking like a lot of clubs are at left-footed players. There's a distinct lack of left-footed players coming through. So that's something we're looking at. We discuss ideas why we think that might be.
Has there been a bigger push from Norwich, Jace, from people like London way? Didn't the new head of the academy, was he someone from East London or something? Because I remember Bertie playing there maybe end of last year, and there was a big. So there seemed to be more of an influx of, I'd say, people from London rather than like East Anglia and those surrounding areas. It's got a good catchment area, haven't you, for Norwich?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been there long, so I don't know. I won't be able to answer all the questions. Right. I know certainly one of the things that I've obviously had to learn is through different age groups, you have, quite tight travel restrictions on how far players can travel.
Correct. Yeah.
I know, obviously, as a club, they do look into that London area, and if they spot players who they think have got huge potential, they will possibly move them closer to school them.
Yeah. What cat in Norwich, James?
Cat 1.
Cat 1, right, okay.
So, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the area that I sort of cover for them is sort of Chelmsford up towards Colchester, out to Clacton, that area. So it's kind of me doing that. I pick my own games. They'll also send me players through who they heard are worth watching. Yeah. So I'll go and watch them. But it's quite good because you get quite a lot of autonomy to go and just watch games.
Yeah.
And see if you spot anybody. It's obviously highly competitive. There's lots of clubs out there doing it.
Sure, of course.
So it's it's about identifying players early. Maybe even able to persuade the parents that Norwich is a good environment for them to go in and trust you to do it. So yes, I'm obviously very new to it. I'm still learning. Like saying I'm enjoying doing it at the moment.
Are they Cat 1, Jace? Is that 2 hours they get to travel?
Yeah, I think it's like an hour and 30 minutes. It depends. Right. The younger ones have got less travel time as they get. I think it's under 13s or 14s. Right. You get an extended little bit of travel time, but the rules are very strict. If it's 1 or 2 minutes the wrong side, then it's just a no. You can't. Yeah. You can't come. That's the rules. Yeah. I understand it. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's great for any kids to be travelling.
No, it definitely takes a drain on you.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they are kids. Yeah. So I think it is good that there is strict rules. But certainly, you know, from the games I've seen up there, and I've been up there a few times already since I started to roll. You know, it's not the biggest recruitment team actually, which was quite surprising, but I think it's more about they're looking for quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can add some good value in, you know, the next year or so, get some players, find a few gems. And it's been enjoyable, to be honest. It's a new skill to learn. It's a professional environment as well, which is good. So you know, just from being around the professional environment, you see bits and it helps you develop. And I think it's a good another skill to be able to have.
100%, mate.
To identify players, and I think that's something I've always been able to do. I think I've managed to find gems even as a manager. I've found players that maybe other clubs have not looked at, or players within my own youth team I've identified and looked at and gone, I think he could be good with a little bit of work, and that's something that, you know, I'll carry on enjoying, I think. So it keeps me busy. Yeah,
new skill set. I think, you know, new contacts, different football, and obviously if you do go in somewhere else, you know, you're making contacts with you know, youth team players that you can maybe take on loan. So outside of the Norwich stuff, you've been doing some scouting as well, haven't you, in and around the Pyramid non-league?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you're out of work, it's quite difficult because, you know, as a manager, you want to work, you know. And, you know, obviously I want to work, and unfortunately you have to wait. You know, you have to wait until jobs come up. You obviously need to be getting out and watching games and keeping your finger on the pulse at probably the level you're expecting maybe an opportunity to come out. But it's also never sat very well with me as a football person that, you know, when a manager's under pressure, there's loads of managers going to watch that club week after week.
I think we've spoken about this recently. I'm not a fan of that at all.
No, I think it's a difficult one. And it's actually weirdly, me and Steve Tilson spoke about it the other week, that, you know, you know that a manager's probably under pressure, and you understand that there might be a change going to happen. I think if you go and watch them once, maybe just to have a look and think, okay, if that did come up and apply, you know, what do I think they might need? And I think that's something that, you know, I think the nature of the beast, that does happen. But I kind of
even if you slip in and slip out, arrive a minute before, watch the game, whatever, I think, especially when I was playing, if there was a job coming up, you'd always see the same 4 or 5 faces loitering about, and they'd be in view. I just think it's a bit of a shitty move, really, you know. So it's probably best that the approach that you're taking. So, I
mean, I've enjoyed the little break, to be honest. I've been getting out and doing some scouting. I've done some work for Jay Devereux at #. I've watched a few games for him. I've watched a couple of games for Stuart Broadley at Felixstowe, who I know through work. And I've watched maybe a dozen games for Rod Stringer at Welling. Obviously, I know Rod well from his time at Chelmsford. He's always been a good friend to me. He's always very supportive. And obviously got me out watching some games for him to keep busy, which has been enjoyable. Obviously nothing beats the wish to be a manager again, or certainly be going into Saturdays with, you know, an expectation that you need to get some results. But I've enjoyed doing the scouting. I enjoy doing the bits for Rod. Rod's a good guy. You know, we speak about football quite often. And it gives you a different perspective on stuff. You just get out watching games and feeding back information and chatting through maybe the report with the managers. So, listen, I think it's important when you're not working that you're still busy and you're still getting out watching games and keep yourself occupied. For when hopefully opportunities come up, that you can be kind of ready for what might come up.
So a couple of questions off the back of that, Jace. Are you using, when you're out scouting, are you sort of free-forming it, or are you using a template that the clubs provide, or that you've set up yourself?
To be fair, when I was Walden manager, I had a couple of scouts that regularly do work for me. You know, I sometimes pay people to go and watch games for me if I couldn't get out there myself. and I had a template that I could have done, and I pretty much tend to use that.
Yeah.
Obviously, the clubs in the National League South, it's slightly different. I think at step 3 now they've got it. The Y Scout, you can pretty much go on and load up the footage. I think the managers that I've been doing work for maybe are ones who, as well as looking at Y Scout, want to have eyes and ears on the ground, and have a look, and have a feel. It's sometimes, I think, quite difficult on Y Scout or these kind of apps. You can see patterns of play, bits and pieces, but I do think sometimes when you're at games, you get a different perspective on what teams are trying to do.
100%.
So I think it's important.
I think it's always the argument as well. Even when a lot of clubs in the pro game have gone pure stats orientated, but you don't get the full picture. I don't think just by taking the stats, as you say, you got to get out. You got to look at the player, get some eyes on him. But even from things like the crowd, the longer it goes 0-0, the crowd are going to get on their back. There's a whole lot more that you can take from being there. So, Jace, you're doing scouting. Do you also keep a little black book yourself?
Yeah,
a little tricky number 7 youngster.
Yeah.
Did you make a note of them, go away and do a bit of research, see where they live, or?
Yeah, I think it's like anything when you see players that you think are good.
Yeah.
You certainly with Rod, if I've seen some players this year that I've thought look good, I've mentioned to Rod. Obviously, I'm not stupid. I'm realistic. The likelihood is that I'm not going to get a job in the Conference South. So a lot of the players I'm watching with him are not going to be players that I'd be able to target. But certainly, I am somebody who is intrigued by the game. I look at certain players who I see that I think look good.
Yeah.
I'll look, see where they live, where they've been previously. You do a bit of research because you're inquisitive. Especially if it's a player that you haven't seen before.
Sure.
Especially in the Conference South, you've got players coming from lower levels in. You've got players dropping down. You've got boys coming out of the Prem under 21s maybe in there. You've got loan boys. So certainly within the Conference South, when I'm watching games there, you often see players that you might not have heard of before, or think, I don't know that player. So as a manager, or generally as a football person, you're inquisitive. Where's that player come from? How come I've never heard of him before? So certainly all the time, I'm always watching. I'm always sort of highlighting players that I think have been effective in their games. I think that's something you have to do if you're out watching games. It's not just about watching the game and feeding back on that. There'll be there's lots of other bits and pieces. What's the pitch like? What the conditions like there? Is it an open ground? Is it generally pretty windy? These are the sort of things that you can't always see on VOs or Y Scouts. Don't give you a good indication of how tricky. You can also hear things from the benches sometimes. If teams are trying to play in a certain way, that's not always evident from the technology. So these are the sort of bits that you sort of feeding back, maybe trying to give it. I don't think there's massive advantages to it. I don't generally, but I think there is certain times where if you've watched an opposition, if you've got eyes on the ground, you certainly can be a difference. I mean, I went and watched the game on Saturday, and one of the infield players got a knock right near the end of the game and was walking around and was definitely looked like he would be struggling for Tuesday. I put that with him on Portman, and lo and behold, on Tuesday he wasn't fit to play. Whereas if you'd have watched that just on the VO and you hadn't been there, you might have thought with 5 minutes to go he's just come off because he's tired. There are sometimes the differentials that you can get from watching, in person.
So, Jace, when you obviously you're going out, say on a Saturday to watch a game, what's the time scales that you've got to get this report back, and how do you deliver that?
So generally with Rod, Jay, generally I'll probably leave the house at, depending on what it is, midday, 1 o'clock on a Saturday. Get there for about 2:15. Generally, I like to try and get out. Generally, like to try and make sure that I can look at the grounds, try
and get. You've got to be there a little bit before.
Yeah, you got to be.
Rock up
No, you got a little bit of prep to do. You want to be able to make sure that you can get the teams right. Maybe generally, most of the time, I've got a complimentary, so you can get in. There's normally somewhere you can sit. Try and find a place where there's not loads of people around you. Yeah. Generally, when I'm scouting,
you want to be sitting down.
I want to be sitting down, and I genuinely want to be trying to sit where I don't think loads of people are going to want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because it's people generally want to talk to you. They then get inquisitive about what you're doing, who you're working for. So I get there. I generally like to try and watch the warm up as well. Just bits and pieces that I see. Make sure you're prepared. And I generally will get home. I'll generally text the manager if he asks me to on a Saturday. Obviously, with them guys, it's especially Rod the last few weeks. Obviously, they've had a little bit of a tough spell. I generally would text him saying, "Rod, I've got the details. If you want to discuss anything tonight, then give me a shout. If not, I'll send you over the report. Generally Sunday or Monday morning, and then I'll call him and say, look, is there anything you want to discuss? Obviously, with Reading at the moment, they're in on days." Yeah. So generally
hybrid, and they hybrid.
Yeah. So like a hybrid model. So they're doing training during the day. So generally we'll leave them if they've got a midweek game coming up and they've got the opposition. I'll generally try and get it to Rod Sunday afternoon. So he'll call me on his drive into the club, and then maybe discuss anything as he wants to go through.
Yeah.
And then Monday night or Tuesday morning, he might call me for a further chat on, anything that he might want to discuss, or anything that he wants to query or ask my opinion on.
So, you going to a game this weekend, mate?
I think I've been asked to cover a couple of games.
Yeah.
There's a few bits to try and work out. Basically, what I'm doing, I need to speak to the boss indoors as well.
Yeah.
See what the plans are for Saturday morning. So no doubt I'll be out.
Obviously, it's good Saturday to go to games, but one thing I wanted to ask is, like you said at the start, it's nice to get a break, and you see the top managers these days, the Peps and the Jurgen Klopp, saying that you have a shelf life now of maybe a couple of seasons, and then you need to withdraw yourself from it. Do you think that's the same at non-league? Because obviously everyone sees non-league part-time football, but what they don't see obviously as well, that it's probably just as much work, if not more sometimes, as league football. You've got a job, you've got a family, you've got a wife. Like, sometimes you need to come out to get refreshed, maybe do a few things that you're doing now, new skill set, some new contacts, and then go back in.
I'm always thinking it's something. Obviously, I've had a couple of breaks now after jobs. I don't really know, Christian. I think a lot of it depends on maybe how things ended up. I mean, like when I left Coggeshall after that little spell there, I was itching to get back in. I felt like
we can get to that.
I felt like I'd been wronged, and I was keen to get back in. This time I'd made a decision probably in February or March that come the end of the year, I'd been asked to go in to do a particular job when I went back. Yeah. Which I felt like I'd done a good job, but I'd always been quite honest that come the end of the year I wanted a break when I went back in. And that was for a couple of reasons. I think I wanted to kind of have a reset about what I wanted to do. Yeah. I think when you're a non-league manager, I think it's a thankless task. Yeah, it is. You very rarely get any sort of credit or sort of pat on the back when you've done a good job. And obviously, we live in a day and age now where everybody has got an opinion. Some of them opinions I would listen to and I'd take on board. Others, I think people talk absolute nonsense. Yeah. When they have no idea of, the situation you're dealing with at each individual club. And I think sometimes that can really take a toll on you. Yeah. Some of the things that I see in non-league, some of the things that I've seen over the last couple of years with, friends of mine and other managers that I know, situations that develop, they take a toll on you, and it's very, very easy
Have you struggled with that mentally at times?
Yeah, listen, there's no question. There is people within any football club who will look at what you're doing and go, with the facilities we've got, with the budget you've got available, with the circumstance you're dealing with, you're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
There'll be people sometimes, and often it'll be outside of the club, people that have got no idea of what you're working with or what you're having to contend with, who will say things that have a negative effect. I think that most managers, when you're under pressure, it's very, well, even when you're not under pressure, to be fair, even when you're doing well, people will still say, oh, well, you should have done better. You win a game home 2-0, but you maybe missed a load of chances. Oh, you're rubbish. We should have won, we shouldn't have won 2-0. We should have won 5-0. Them little bits, I think it's very, very difficult in this day and age to completely switch off from the negative comments that people make and the bits and pieces and the
how do you block that out, James?
I think certainly when I was younger, I don't think I always done it as well.
Right.
Now generally, I think Twitter is a massive thing that as a manager, it sounds crazy, but Twitter is such an effective tool. You see players that come available. Oh, he's come available. But unless you're working at step 1, 2, 3,
exactly.
you probably don't need it.
Yeah.
I think lower down, them sort of things you probably do need. You can connect with a great audience. You get information.
One of them cringy free agent tweets, yeah?
Maybe not so much them, but there's bits and pieces that you. No,
I totally agree, mate. The reason I got to it years ago was because non-league football. Because it was so much. The coverage back then wasn't as much as it is now. You had the availability, but I think it's hard now when you're in a certain position because, especially in football, everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
Whether you play football or not, people that opinion don't count, everyone's got an opinion. Whether you played, managed, everyone wants to give their 2 pence because they watch a bit of Sky Sports at the weekend. So it's very hard. But do you feel like now, as a manager, you can have social media? Do you think you can be the same as you are, years ago when there wasn't all that outside noise?
Yeah, I think you can. I think one of the things that, especially probably maybe in the last 3 or 4 years, and this is something that I learned from, having managers and people I speak to, people who are holding high regard. I think one of the things that I think is important is if there's people, there'll always be people who for whatever reason don't like you. Could be, any manner of thing. They've seen you one time on a touchline, and you've done something which probably you wouldn't do outside of the touchline, in that environment, and they'll make a preconceived idea of who you are, and they will attack you for that. I think one of the things that I've learned is just to block them people, Christian. And it's something I didn't used to do. And then I think it was Smallsy, to be fair. When I worked with him, he used to do things this kind of way. What he'd do is he would screenshot the negative comments of them people.
Stick it on the changing room wall?
No. What he used to do is I remember once when I think it was the season before I joined Bowers, they'd finished second behind Haringey, and loads of would chirped up, calling them bottlers, calling them a fraud. What he'd done was, I remember he screenshotted every single negative comment he saved, and he used to save them on his folder on his phone. And the following year, when we won the league, he just retweeted all of them.
Yeah, give it back. So that's I think in not just football, right? You're using someone's negativity to sort of drive you forward. But do you think you will be a different person to manage when you go back?
I think part of the reason why I was keen to have this break.
Because you're all in, right?
You
work on the phone a lot on the touchline. I think we're talking about the touchline, but you are someone that's all in, and sometimes you think I'm probably the same. I think as you get older, you mellow a little bit. But do you think with this break, you've had time to reassess? Do you think you'll go back a little bit different?
Yeah, I think one of the things when obviously when after the relegation of Cogshaw, I'd kind of thought I was going to have a break then, to be honest.
Right.
But obviously, a few months into the season, I was enjoying my break, to be honest. It was the first time I hadn't done any football.
Right. Okay.
For as long as I can remember, I hadn't done any football. And obviously then I got the call from Walden, could I go back? I think one of the things that I had to admit when I left Cogshaw was, it probably wasn't easy to hear, but I think when you've got good people around you, they will acknowledge the things that you do well, but because they care about you and they want to see you do well, they'll also hold you to task on the things that you need to improve on. Sure. And I think that's important. I think when you've got good staff, after the Cogshaw thing, Hawksey, and a geezer called, Richard Hall used to be.
Okay.
So I got to know Hawley quite well. I was at Cogshaw. I had a boy on loan from Colchester. So
the little boy asked about
Matt Yates.
Yeah.
And I got to know Hawley quite well, actually. I think he appreciated that I'd looked after Yatesy quite well. Yatesy liked playing for us. And I got to know him over that period. And
good little player, him.
Yeah, he was good. And Hawley was... I had breakfast at Hawley's house one morning. He lives in Ipswich. I was visiting a job and he said, I want to pop in and have breakfast. And we had breakfast and we got talking. And Hawley gave me some real home truth, to be honest, about things that he'd watched a lot of our games that season, things that I obviously done well. He said, look, I know you've created a really good environment because Matt's really enjoying it there. Yeah. And he says that you're polar opposite off the pitch to maybe what you are on the touch side.
Yeah.
And he gave me some real home truths on things that maybe people had told me before, Christian, to be honest, and I probably not poo-pooed it, because I think that was disrespectful, but I think when you're caught up in that moment, you can let things, I've certainly done...
see the wood from the tree sometimes when you're in it.
Yeah, certainly there's been things that I've done in the past where I thought, wow, that's bad. Tiffany's even told me before at games, like she didn't come to games, she's like, sometimes on the sideline, like things you've done, it's like, you're out of line. Like, I don't really like that side of you. Yeah. And Hawley, probably along with Hawksey, to be fair, really got into me after that, and they sort of not dug me out, but they sort of said, like, if you want to be better, then you need to improve on this. Yeah. Like, you have to be better.
So you have to manage the moments better, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to manage the moments where once it's done and it's gone, what good's going to come from me arguing with the referee? Listen, I don't think that's something I'm always going to be able to remove, because I am certainly somebody, if I don't think something's right or I feel like something has been unjust, I'm going to speak my mind. Yeah. But I think it's...
But then do you think you have to just put it to bed?
Yeah.
In the past, maybe it's clouded.
Yeah, I think so. And I also
how
think...
you manage the game going forward.
Yeah, I think for sure that's something that happens. I also think as well, especially at step 5 and step 4, where you get the same referees, the same linesmen. If you have had a ding dong row with somebody, and then 2-3 weeks later you've got them. Yeah, I think the two things will happen. Yeah, subconsciously they'll turn up. Yeah, going, he was bloody out of line last time I had him. And if you say something that isn't that controversial, you're
already on the hook.
You're already on the hook. They'll clap down on you. Then you'll feel it's unjust. Then especially me, if I feel something's unjust, I'll probably get quite loud. I'm quite loud character as it is. And it didn't really do me any good. And I think when I went back to Walden, I don't think I was perfect. Yeah. But I certainly had listened to them lessons. And they were difficult conversations. I think especially for Hawksey, we didn't speak for a little period. I took some of the things he said quite personally, but I think now I probably acknowledge that they come from
a good place.
Have
you spoken to him since?
Yeah, we play cricket together in the summer. Okay. We have done for the last 5 or 6 years, and we speak all the time. We've been out to watch games recently together. So it was it was from a good place. It was maybe just me. You know it's like, Christian, when somebody's picking the bits maybe that you're not doing well.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
very difficult to
100%.
hear that.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're getting dug out, when actually it's just a case of, look, mate, you need to be better at this, and I want you to do well, and that's why I'm here.
I think in any walk of life, not just football, sometimes when you're getting a bit of criticism or you're getting you must do better, sometimes it's hard to hear, right? I always thought when I come to watch games that super committed, you always had a group of lads that wanted to play for you. You had loyal boys that had come in. I just feel like sometimes you let one bad decision sometimes cloud the game for you, and then if you lose your head in any walk of life, that maybe the 5 or 10 minutes after that, you didn't maybe manage that situation as good as you can do. But what I would say is, how are you in regards to management with like a Hawksy, or I know Watter's a good friend of mine, work with you. Are you someone that can get a good team in and trying to think of the word, but dish out the work, or are you someone that wants to do everything yourself?
No, I think certainly in my early time, I would be a little bit of a control freak. I'd want to go out, do the warm up, be involved in the warm up, be all over things. But I think as I developed as manager, and I noticed that other managers weren't doing it. I think that was something I certainly learned as I've got friends who are managing at higher. Yeah. Much less involvement in the bits and pieces. Yeah. There was even like little things, Christian, sometimes that you learn as you get experience. Like when I used to be involved in, like when I first went in, because when I first went into Walden, it's a big opportunity at a big club. You want things to be right.
Of course.
You don't
come from a good place.
Yeah,
right?
But I think what can happen is, say for example, I don't know, a player in the warm-up who you've picked in the starting 11 has a bad warm-up, which does happen.
Yeah, of course.
Because you've noticed that he's had a bad warm-up, as soon as the game starts,
you're on him.
You can be on him because you know he's had a bad warm-up. Whereas, I think about 18 months in, actually, I made the decision that once I'd done the team, I would let the boys go out and start the warm-up. I'd maybe come out and pull out a couple of players and talk to them once I'd got their team. But generally, I didn't get involved in the warm-up whatsoever. Yeah. Didn't do anything at all. I might come out for the last 5 or 10 minutes just to make sure that when I said time to come in, there weren't a few stragglers having shots and doing their last bits. But it worked well for me. I think that was one of the things that, especially when I brought in Hawksy as my number 2. Yeah. Obviously, he'd been a manager on his own right in the National League stuff. Somebody who was really only there for me. He wasn't getting paid. He was travelling from Heybridge. He basically said, me and Hawksy had that agreement that we would apply for jobs. We applied for a couple of jobs. Him as the manager, me as the number 2. Yeah. And we was unsuccessful. And then when the Walden job come up, I remember I rang him and said, look, I've been offered the South Walden job, like we'd always had this agreement, like how do you feel about it? And he was like, well, yeah, if you want me to come as your assistant, then I will. Yeah. And I was really surprised because obviously he's been a manager in his own right. Yeah. Much higher level than what I've managed at.
Chelmsford for years, wasn't he?
Yeah, for 4 years. Yeah. But I think it was because we were friends. He was like, yeah, I'll if you want me to, I'll come and help you. Yeah. And he was very good at, very different to me. Hawksy very quiet. He's a thinker, but he's very good at identifying things where this needs to be better, or we need to change that, we need to do this. He was very good for me of allowing me just to say, look, you've done your bit before the game. Yeah. Just go and relax for half hour. Go and have a coffee. Go in the boardroom. Speak to people in there. Do whatever you need to do. Just make sure at 3 o'clock when the game starts, you're ready for the game. And it enabled me to just maybe switch off. Be a bit more relaxed, and I generally felt for the last sort of probably 18 months when I was at Walden with him, we was in a much better place. Everybody sort of knew what their jobs were. Yeah. I didn't have to tell them. It meant that I was less stressed because I am somebody, Christian, who when I'm all in, I'm all in, and if things aren't being done correctly, that's going to annoy me. I want things to be done properly. Sure. I'm a perfectionist. Because I'm very much a believer that what you put in you'll get out.
Yeah.
So that worked well, and I think when I go back in, I certainly would like to think that I will be able to, in the key moments, control the things that I can control better, and probably be able to let some of them things that I haven't been able to let go in the past go. And if you don't, you won't get opportunities. That's the crux of it. You've got to be better with them bits.
So, Jace, like we've talked about before the game, and obviously splitting up jobs and responsibilities. I've always known that you've used scouts and you've gone out. You're always out watching games. You're someone, as you just said, like puts a lot of effort into being better and making the team better. So, looking at that and looking at sort of like what you're doing now for Rod and other teams, how much of that information, say, I don't know, I go out and watch Stansted in the week for you. Walden would have had Stansted. How much of that information are you including in your team talk, or are you going around individually and saying, Wheeler, there's a winger a lot quicker than you, get to him, whatever? Yeah. Are you using that like on a wider scale, or are you using that just individually with each player?
I think there's bits and pieces that I think often it will depend. I generally, when I've been at clubs, I generally will always have got the opposition watched by somebody, or myself, or somebody I trust, or one of the other management team at least once. Generally, the only things that I look at, especially at Saffron Walden, we pride ourselves on them, but used to get a lot of piss taken out of us over it. One of the things is just around shape, little bits and pieces. Are they direct? What system do they play? One of the things that I look at a lot, especially at Saffron Walden, we had a massive amount of success with it. It was around set pieces.
I'm a set piece freak, mate.
Yeah, like set pieces. Like I'd spend, like even now when I go to games for Rod, I will often video the set pieces on my phone, mainly because I like to look at, I like to go back and look at the detail. Yeah. I remember, there was a couple of seasons at Saffron Walden where we scored 20 odd plus goals from set pieces. I remember people used to make comments on Twitter like, "Oh yeah, Saffron Walden only scored from the set pieces." But there was loads of things. We used to practice set pieces quite a lot. Yeah. I was always really, really strict with my set piece takers that, if they didn't do it, they'd be off. I put a lot of emphasis around set pieces. We'd have blockers, we'd have runs, we'd know where to deliver. We'd look at teams, especially in the last few years in the senior league, amazingly, there'd be teams who zonally mark. Yeah. And we would then go and do something a bit different. Yeah. And it's something that I think it's them small details, Christian. You have a lot of set pieces in the game, and when you're watching live, sometimes it's not always you're watching the taker. Yeah. Is there a signal? You're also watching what's going on in the box. In the box. Yeah. So often when I would go, I'd say to people, look, just give me the basic details. If you can video some set pieces. I had a guy that now works for West Ham, to be fair, in their academy, Rob Runson, and he scouted for me for about 18 months. And he used to watch games and he'd send me all the video clips. Yeah. And he was actually really, really good for us for a period because he was really analytical and he would look at set pieces for ages and go, look, they're really weak here because of this, or I've watched them twice and both times the man's gone out for a short corner and the man from the front zone's run out, and that's an area we can target. So they're the bits that obviously if there's an exceptional player, you'll highlight him and say, look, he could really punish us here in transition if we give the ball away. But mainly it's around shape, their patterns of play. Are they generally going to pass? Do they look to go long? Do they look to press? And around set pieces. And also around like restarts, something that I think certainly when I was early days management, I don't think we weren't good enough on restarts. Yeah. Something that me and Hawksy looked over a long period of time, about times when the ball was out of play where we'd give away possession from throws because the fullback would take too long to take the throw, or would not throw it to the man who was available, and then would give the ball away.
With restarts, people don't understand how many times that just kick-offs, how important getting a kick-off right, because if we just roll it back to, say, a centre midfielder or a fullback and he gives the ball away, you might not concede a goal, but what you've done is you've handed out all all the sort of impetus to them, and you could be under the cosh for 5 minutes, and you've literally started the game on the back foot. So before we move on to how you get into football, Jace, you mentioned something there, and obviously at the levels you've managed that. Would you ever have any of your teams doing zonal marking?
No, I don't think so. Not at step 5, or certainly not at step 4. Mainly, I'm not opposed to zonal marking. I'm not, but I think contact time with the players,
100% spot on. That's exactly my argument.
You don't have enough time.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're working in a full-time environment, when you've got a settled group of 20, you can certainly go through them positional areas better. I'm a Liverpool fan, and we have they do a lot of zonal marking, and it works quite well, or part zonal, part marking. But for me, at the levels I've been at, 100%, certainly not. No, I'd maybe have somebody allocated always to the front zone, one to the edge of the box, and they don't move. Yeah. But generally speaking, apart from that, no, I'm not a massive fan of it. No. Because I don't think you have the continuity in players, and I don't think you have enough time to cover it properly. Yeah. So that's kind of my opinion. Really.
Spot on, mate. As I say, playing for years, Tommy Cunningham at Harlow, like we were a zonal team. We bashed set pieces for and against, but it took hours. We literally done it every session. And as you say, I think this day and age, there's a lot of change now and then on league. And most weeks, teams different. I think it's very hard to do. So totally agree. So, Jace, if we scrape it all the way back, how did you really get into the management sort of capacity? You was in the army, weren't you? You was playing football. You got injured quite badly, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, from when I was a kid, I was really lucky, to be fair. In the household where I grew up, my mum is a...
So where did you grow up, Jace?
I grew up in Chelmsford. Okay. I've always lived in Chelmsford. I now live in outside of Chelmsford, but I'd always lived in Chelmsford. Yeah. My mum was a football fanatic. Yeah. My dad was a football fanatic.
Your mum was involved with Chelmsford City.
Yeah. Right? My dad's before he passed away, he's a football fanatic. My nan, she was a football fanatic. I was the first boy in the family after a long period of girls, so I was always going to play football, even if I didn't love it. From a very early age, I think I was maybe a couple of weeks old. I think my mum told me when I went to my first Chelmsford game. Yeah. And I played, obviously, as a young kid.
Was that the old Little Street ground?
It was at the old New York Street grounds. And that's kind of where my love affair of...
I used to love that old ground.
Yeah, it's a magical place. I had some of my best childhood memories. There, I used to go there in the 6 weeks holiday. I used to sneak on. We used to play on the pitch. We used to get chucked off by the groundsman a few times. And it was a place where I sort of found my love of football. It
seemed massive as well. If I'm thinking about it now, it just seemed massive, that place.
I remember it was weird. So I used to go to the games with my mum and dad. My mum would always sit in the stand. Yeah. And I'd always
big
go.
Old main stand,
big old main stand. But I'd always stand, even as a young kid, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9. I'd always go and stand behind the goal. Yeah. At the Wolseley Road and at the covered end with all of the adults, my dad. Some of my best friends are.
Good memories?
Yeah, the best memories. Probably from the age of, I don't know, maybe 9 till I was started playing senior football, 17 or 18, home and away every week, Christian. Yeah, like with my dad on the coach. Some crazy things. I mean, I remember, I think it was under the Jeff King era, I think we played Ramsgate away. Yeah. I think Lou Boylan scored a last minute winner, and I jumped the barrel of one of my mates and we in the cuddle when he got a second yellow card for celebrating with us, and he got sent off. And I remember a couple of weeks later I saw Jeff at the ground, and he's like, I don't have a word of you coming. And I remember he said, he's like, look, don't ever do that again. You can be alright, tell it off. But yeah, I had some, and it was before my dad passed away. We had some great journeys where he'd give me time off. Like I remember during secondary school, like a couple of times he'd say, he's got a doctor's appointment. We'd go like Dorchester away on a Tuesday night and get even at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, but don't you think that's like that fosters your love for football? Like being around non-league football myself from like a really, really young age, and being in the change room and being in the dugout with my dad and stuff, like it gives you that love of football, right? And I just think non-league football is just so real and authentic, and like especially at the level that at Chelmsford. It was non-league, but at the same time, I found a good level of football, getting good crowds, big ground.
Yeah.
As you say, especially as well, it's local. All your mates. It's good memories. It's good memories, I think.
Yeah, pretty much every week.
It was at the time. Jeff was a manager then.
Jeff King was the manager. I mean, the first manager I probably really remember was I remember when we had the red kit. Under Roy McDonough. We had a really bad team. Then we had Darren Bellamy. Darren Bellamy was actually quite an influential coach for me. Alongside doing playing for Chelmsford and being a manager there, he ran the pass scheme at Chelmsford College, which I was on. He was probably the first manager who.
That's a blast on the pass scheme. Yeah,
I got injured on that pass scheme. I broke a bone in my ankle, and I didn't play loads but I used to go to the games, and he would talk to me about like what he was doing, and I'd watch and training and talk to him. He was one of the first managers really give me an insight into management and coaching. He was really
that side of it.
Softly spoken guy. Was a really great manager. I remember, at the same time I was going to that pass, I was still going home and away watching Chelmsford.
Right.
His was probably one of the most pleasing on the eye Chelmsford sides that I can remember. And obviously then we had Craig Edwards. Craig was a really good guy. I still speak to Craig quite a lot.
Just come out of Cheshunt.
Yeah, Craig used to allow me to go in and watch training quite a lot, and I used to go in there quite a lot and watch training and speak to him about bits and pieces. I'd always been interested in that side of the game, even from a young age.
So from a young age, you're really fostering, like you maybe more want to be a coach, or was it just because you was interested?
Just because I was interested, really. I don't really. It sounds sad, Christian, but I don't really have any other hobbies.
Right.
Probably the only things I do is
cricket. What about cricket?
I play cricket in the summer.
Yeah.
I'd stop as soon as football started. Football was my main love.
Yeah.
I go and watch the ice hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go and watch Chieftains. Often go away on a Sunday and watch them.
Yeah.
And obviously now I've got my allotment. And they're really the only things that I do. I don't do anything else.
Yeah.
All my friends are football related friends.
Yeah, okay.
And then obviously Jeff King and Glenn Pennyfather come in.
Yeah.
Obviously when
that's the one I remember the most. I think is it like how old are you, Joe? Same age as
42. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm 45, but. I would say, growing up or being younger, he was the one that I would just remember the most, I think, Glenn Pennyfather.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite lucky that when I started my management career, Glenn allowed me to go in and watch loads of stuff.
Right.
I pretty much go into it most sessions.
Yeah.
At Melbourne, I'd go in and watch.
Yeah.
They'd allow me to ask him questions. Sometimes I was probably pesting, so I was asking him so many questions because I wanted to learn. But he was so good, he was brilliant with the players, the way that he conducted himself, the training sessions he done, the environment he fostered, his attention to detail, the style of play they played. He was really good, and and that's probably where my if people ask me, I'm obviously a Liverpool fan, but first and foremost, people ask me, I would say that I'm a Chelmsford fan.
Yeah,
I'm a Chelmsford fan. I mean, I've probably been to 600, 700, 800 games, maybe.
Mate, 100%.
And they're just the games that I can remember. I mean, I've been to games when I was a kid where I don't even remember them, but I've been, up and down the country with my mates on the coach, train journeys.
But I just think what you've just said, spot on. I'm an Orient fan, right? But I'll tell you now, if all my mates, West Ham, Arsenal, Spurs, whoever it is, I'll tell you what, even now, if, say, for instance, Harlow Town got to the first round of the FA Cup, we'll all go. Yeah. We'll all be there. Everyone's it's the same for us. Harlow, everyone will be a Harlow fan forever, right? So, just before we delve into again, you got into coaching. What do you think of Chelmsford where they are now, Jace? Because as I say, obviously you always look back with, I suppose, your memories are cloudy. You always think things are a little bit better, but that Real Street ground was a proper football ground. I'll be honest. If I go and watch Chelmsford, I normally go and watch them when they're away. I just can't stand that ground and their environment they're in right now, purely and simply because of the running track. I come out of youth football to play for Harlow at the old sports centre when it was a running track.
Yeah.
To play on was horrendous.
I remember watching Chelmsford there actually in the FA Cup. I think we got beaten 4-2.
It's good if you're winning, because you can waste so much time. But if you're losing, the ball's going off every 5 minutes. Like, it's hell on earth. Like, I just don't think it's a great environment. Them 2 little stands behind the ground. Where are they at Chelmsford with, like, are they going to be there forever? Because they're doing all right this year. Let's say, for instance, they go into the conference. Have they got a long-term plan for a new ground, or?
Well, I think the new chairman or new owners come in.
Right. Is that this season? Or?
Yeah, he's come in maybe 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
I know him quite well. I've had a few chats with him in the past.
Right.
He's a Chelmsford guy. I think he will have long-term aspirations for the football club. I think, you know,
because there's a sports centre there and an Astro. Yeah. So that side of it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Gulag, as most of the supporters call it, the Gulag. I think if you ask most Chelmsford fans.
What's that, a curry, isn't it? What?
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
The ground's called the Gulag?
It's called the Gulag. I don't know. Yeah, Chelmsford fans refer to the ground as the Gulag. Okay. I think it's just some sort of derogatory term.
Right.
I think most fans probably, you know, don't think it'd be unfair to say they don't enjoy it. I mean, I don't like going there, generally speaking. If I'm going to watch the game, I'll sit in the main stand. If I'm going to have a social with my mates, because I still go to games.
Behind the goal? Or?
I'll go and stand behind me. Just because it's where my mates are standing, I want to talk to them. I mean, I go to less Chelmsford games now than I did in the past, because obviously I'm watching games, Christian. But obviously, you know, it's not a secret. I'm a manager. I have ambitions. And, People ask me. Without question. Listen, if an opportunity to come and work for that club came up, that, you know, probably in any role, to be honest.
Yeah, sure.
I'd probably do it because it's my club. I don't really like watching them at home, to be honest.
Yeah. How would they go up though, Jace? If they got promoted this year,
I think they'd probably have work to do.
Right.
I mean, I think it's one of the things that's held the club back, certainly for
100%.
For sure. I mean, I know people that go to the games who are long-standing Chelmsford fans who go home and away, and they go to the home games and they joke that they get there at 5-3, they leave straight away, and they go as a kind of, you have to go because you're a supporter, but they don't actually enjoy the experience
and also, like,
of going to watch games there.
If they're doing
it's better now than it was, but it's still not great.
Yeah, but also if they're doing that, the club's missing out on loads of dough.
Yeah, I mean,
you're literally going there for the football and leaving.
I mean, I think it was last Saturday, I'd come back from a game and one of the boys, Rito, who's a good friend of mine, we played cricket together, and we've done probably hundreds of away games together.
Yeah.
He texted me after the game saying, "Oh, did you watch the game today?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm in Chelmsford, where are you?" And he said, "Oh, we're in the Railway Tavern." Yeah. I'd left the game, gone to the tavern. I actually went and had a... Right. That was after the Barnet game. So I'd left there, gone to the tavern, and then it was 20 or 30 minutes. I went and had a couple of drinks.
So as the athletics track, that part of it, Jason, is that still used a lot?
Yeah, I think that's part of the issue why it's been difficult. I mean,
because I see something maybe last week. You went to watch Enfield last week, right? I think maybe that's why I looked. I think Enfield have either paid or they've bought ready for next season. Yeah. They've bought a stand to go over the other side. But I thought that Donkey Lane or whatever it's called, I thought that was still used for athletics. So I don't know how that'll play out. But
I think one of the problems that Chelmsford have is that because it's still used, there's a significant amount of money from Sport England and the Athletics Federation. They have a lot of problems, you know, like, I know, going back a few years, I remember Jason Hallett broke his ankle there on a shot put hole. I remember that. And they've had all these kind of things. They have to take bits of the ground down. Yeah. So I think for the council, it's a win-win. They've got the football club there probably subsidising the athletics, which I think probably doesn't make much money or barely breaks even. So there's not a great willingness to relocate them. But I think if the club
kicks up enough,
want to progress, it's not a great place to watch football. However, you know, I love Chelmsford, but it isn't a place that I would choose to go and watch football. If I was given a choice of going to watch them away or at home, I'd probably choose away most of the time because you're not standing behind an athletics track. But it is what it is. It's better than not having a ground, I suppose. But certainly in terms of compared to New Riddle Street, it's so different. Yeah,
I always think of that when I go to the cricket. I always find myself still looking to see the old ground. Obviously, it's gone. So you come out of the army, Jace. You was playing. You got badly injured. How did you then sort of think maybe I'll have a look at, you know, the management side or coaching? Where did you go?
I'd left the army. Mainly, if I'm honest, Christian, one of my friends, a couple of friends of mine, had died the year before in a car accident. Right. I'd been away, and I hadn't been able to get back in time, and it had a big impact on me. To be fair, made me reevaluate things. I'd enjoyed my army career, but it sounds stupid. I really missed some freedom of just stupid little things like being able to go and play football on a Saturday. Like them sort of things I really missed.
Where was you stationed, Joe?
Down in Chichester. Right. It's a lovely part of the world.
Yeah, nice part of the world.
Lovely. And then I came back in the July I'd left, and I was just getting up to speed. Obviously, I've been away for a few years, so I didn't really know anybody. And then, so I've gone into Burnham to play. Yeah,
Burnham Ramblers.
To play some games, and I was just getting fit. And I played 3 or 4 games for reserves, and I got sort of 6 goals in 3 games. And Gary Kimball was the manager, and sort of spoken to me about like coming into the first team squad after Christmas. So it was Boxing Day. We were playing away at Rayleigh, and I broke my leg, double breaking my tib and fib, and I had an open fracture. I probably spent about the next 9 months. I'd probably had 10 ops on that leg, Christian.
Right, okay.
I spent a crazy amount of money privately to try and I wanted to play again. They pretty much said to me straight away, you will not be able to play. You're lucky you still got a leg. I mean, you see my scar, it's bad. And I was in probably say for the first time in my life, I was in a really dark place where I'd left the army, moved back home. I didn't really, you're in that transitional period. A lot of your friends that you've been friends from school. Yeah.
I moved on.
Yeah. I'm back to play football. And it was weird. It was Rob Small, to be fair.
Where was you living at the time?
I was living in Chelmsford.
Right.
I had a big cage on my leg. I'd just got it off. I couldn't drive. I couldn't walk. It was a really difficult month. And weirdly, I got a text one day. It was from Rob Smallsy. I'd spoken to him a couple of times. Like after I got injured, the boys at Burnham didn't really know me.
Was he in goal?
He was in goal in the first team at Burnham. Obviously, he'd heard about my injury from a few of the boys that were there, and he reached out to me actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know him. I didn't know Smallsy at all. Yeah. And basically said, look, I understand you're having a difficult time. I understand can't really do anything at the moment. You're not going to be able to play again. I manage the Sunday side with quite a lot of the boys. Yeah. The Dutch. Do you want to get involved?
Yeah. Where was that? Like Southminster way? Was that?
So weirdly, we was playing at Burnham at the time. We was playing. We played at Southminster for a little while, but that season at time we were playing at Ramblers Ground. And he reached out to me, and we had a couple of chats, and I knew a few people that knew him, and I started helping out. Yeah, really. Listen, me and Smallsy are very good friends now. We speak most days on the phone. We socialise outside. I will always be grateful for, him reaching out to me. He didn't have to do that. It's something I think I've took into my management, and when people are injured, even if they've stopped playing for you,
just checking
and make sure they're right. And then it kind of went from there. I'd always been interested in management, so I'd done that, and then I started managing the reserves at Burnham. Yeah. And then
it was the first team manager. It was Kimball still there. Yeah?
Kimball with Dave Patience. Yeah. And I've been doing the reserves, and I was still helping Smallsy. And then a guy that had been my youth team coach for a long period when I was a youth team player at Brunfield, coming up, he'd just become the first team manager at Long Melford.
Right, okay.
And he rang me and said, look, I need a coach.
I've always heard that name. Where's that? Like Norwich way?
Yeah, sort of at the other side of Sudbury. It's only a small village, the other side of Sudbury. Yeah. They were playing at Step 5 at the time. Yeah. And he basically said to me, do you want to come in as the coach? Yeah. So
that was always in is it the Regions League or whatever?
Yeah, it was called the Regions League when I first went in there. So I went in there and I was the coach and kind of really his assistant really for about 2 years, and then he got cancer, and he stepped down, and the club said to me, look, do you want to be a manager? And I had always wanted to be a manager. Yeah. I actually enjoyed the role of assistant as well. So I took on the job, and I spent 3 years there. A lot less pressure in there.
It
wasn't so much the pressure, Christian. It was just whether or not I was, obviously you've got to remember at this stage I was probably
no experience, really
28 years old.
Right, okay.
Didn't really know anybody at the club.
Was there boys in that change room that were older than you?
Yeah,
Right.
there was.
Right.
There was a couple of boys that had Mark Dack and Tony French.
Right.
Had played 300, 400, 500 Frenchies when he was 39 years old.
Right. Okay.
He'd played probably 600, 700.
Okay.
Step 3, step 4, step 5 games.
Okay.
But I think when I started that job, I was quite all in. It was weird. I still wasn't able to drive all the time because my leg was still causing me some issues. But I could get by. Yeah. I brought some good people in with me, and I had a great 3 years there. To be fair, Christian, it was really good.
So that was your first full-time manager.
First full-time, first team management job where you have to get results. Basically, you have to get results. It was a really struggling team when I went back in. When I went in, when I was like second or third bottom, we ended up finishing up mid-table, and progressively the next season we finished about 8th. And then the last season I'd done 3rd. It was weird.
Who was the main team in the regions when you first started, Jay?
Hadley, Stowmarket, Yarmouth, Galston were all strong sides. Whittam were very strong. But one of the objectives that they really set me was they knew that we couldn't get promoted. We was never going to be good enough for that. Yeah. One of the objectives there was for the club was that they'd been quite successful in the sort of early 90s under Richard Carter, and they'd had quite a lot of money. Was they were desperate to get to the Suffolk Senior Cup final again, which was obviously at Portman Road. Sure. So that every season was. I remember in one of my first games, it was an important lesson I learned is to learn about the heritage or the history of the club. One of my first games there, we had an important league game, I think on the Tuesday night away at Thetford, we were right down, and we had the Suffolk Senior Cup. Yeah. And basically I rested virtually 3/4 of the side. And we played a team from the lower league, which I thought we would win. And at half time we were losing 3-0. Luckily we came back and won. I think it was 5-3 after extra time. The president actually told me that if we had lost, I would have got sacked. So they kind of said to me every year that we want to have a good run in the Suffolk Senior Cup. Like we know it'd be hard. We're playing against teams from a high level, but we want to try and do our best. And in the last season I was there, we were very, very fortunate. We had a really good side. Most of the homegrown lads, we had probably 12 lads, Christian, who lived within about a mile of the ground. So I thought you was going to say that before you said about the Sussex Cup. I thought you was going to say a big push towards getting some local boys in, saving a bit of dough. No, that was all local lads. I probably had 2 or 3 lads that travelled. Okay. I had Paul Woods, the goalie, who somebody else had signed, who I knew, and a couple of other lads that I brought in. But we progressed through the rounds. We won 2 or 3 rounds, and then we won away a game. I think it was Stowmarket 1-0 away in the semi-final. We got to the final at Portman Road. Okay. To be honest, on the day we were the better side. We played Whittam, who a couple of weeks before we'd played Whittam, and their manager was Ian Brown, who had been a pro at Bristol City and loads of clubs. We played them a few weeks before. They were top of the league at the time. We played them a few weeks before in the league, and they'd bashed us up 5-0. And I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, this could be embarrassing. They are big old picture of Portman Road. Yeah, they are much better than us. But when I watched them, and we come up with a plan that we thought could work. Yeah. And to be honest, we scored a brilliant goal. Probably one of the best goals in all my time in management that one of my teams scored. An exceptional goal at any level. Was an unbelievable goal. We led till the 89th minute when they got a deflected equaliser. And then in the 95th minute, Geezer had a shot and that goal spilled it and we lost 2-1. But it was a magical night. Yeah. There were some really good people there, people who supported me 3 years as a manager, young manager, didn't really put me under. Was that in your 3rd year? In my 3rd year, they kind of allowed me to make mistakes. I think they could see an honesty from me that when I got it wrong, I'd go, look, sorry, I got that wrong. Because we had a group that cared about the club as well, very local. Do you think clubs do that these days, Jay? Do you think you're talking about a club that maybe is going to be fighting relegation, massive budget? You're kind of learning on your job, right? Do you think clubs do that now, or everyone just wants instant gratification all the time? I think at Long Melford I was lucky that I had a guy who's President Richard Kemper. I still speak to now. To be funny enough, he still rings me, catch up to how I am, and Alf. They were 2 really good football people. Yeah, they understood the game. They understand we didn't have a big budget. You know, we paid players to go like fake them away like £10.
Yeah.
We didn't have any money.
Yeah.
But we punched well above our weight, and they kind of loved the honesty of, you know, he's working hard, we're working hard, we're all in this together, and they allowed me to develop. I think at Saffron Walden I was really lucky under Stuart Vant when he was the chairman.
Yeah.
Vanty was really good chairman for me in terms of when we started working together, he said, we'll get on fine as long as we stick to these 2 rules. Is I'll make sure that nobody interferes in the football.
Yeah.
You don't interfere in the run of the club.
Okay.
If you need my support on a football matter, you bring it to me, and I'll bring it to the board, and I'll push to help you.
Yeah.
But if you ever asked about the run of the club, I would expect that you don't have an opinion, you bash it towards the people that run the club.
Sure.
And for a long period, that's exactly how we ran it, and it worked quite well. And he was very supportive, even when sometimes, you know, if I overstepped the mark, he would always cover for me and fight my back. But then he might come and have a word and go, "Look, you're out of line, man.
Yeah, sure.
Like, you know, get back in your box. You know, you shouldn't be commenting on them sort of things." And I think it's important. I think some of the things I've learned, especially,
I think no one gets a breather these days. I think everyone, like I look at non-league, for instance, and I see clubs sacking managers constantly, like once a month, whatever. And I look at them and I think, the ground's not great. You haven't got good resources.
Yeah.
Like some point in time with clubs, you have to give someone an opportunity to make you better. But I just think now it's very hard because everyone wants instant gratification at all levels.